The headline is, Americans may only see fascism in the rearview mirror when it's too late. And I think probably the main point that I'm making with this op-ed and in what I'm telling you right now is that now that the January 6th Commission looks like it's dead, it passed the House, it's going to the Senate. Mitch McConnell came out yesterday and said, I'm opposed to it, which means that there will be a filibuster of it in the Senate, which means that in order for it to pass in the Senate, they're going to have all 50 Democrats. I think it's reasonable to assume that they'll get that. And they're going to have 10 Republicans. That's going to be a stretch. There are 7, as I recall, Republicans in the Senate who might consider something like this, who have, really spoken out loudly and continuously about their concerns about January 6th, but that's not 10. So we'll see where that goes. But the larger point that I wanted to make is that I think most Americans think that politics changes and moves at a glacial speed. Very, very slow, gradual change is how things happen in countries. This is, I think there's a widespread perception across America that this is the case. Even though our own politics, our own history shows that that's very much not the case. In 1773, you had, people in the colonies saying, hey, it's cool to be a British, a citizen of British, an American colonial citizen of the British Empire. Thomas Jefferson himself in 1772 or early 1773 published a whole pamphlet on how to be a good citizen of Great Britain. And then in November of 1773, the Boston Tea Party happened. The Tea Act and then the Boston Ports Act, and it changed everybody's mind. And, within 2 years, we were in a shooting war with England, a limited one, with a shot heard around the world, Arlington, Concord, all that kind of stuff. And by 1776, we had actually declared war on July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence. So that all happened in a 3-year period. We went from being, happy colonies of England to we're at war with you guys. The Civil War, the same thing. It was 1857, 56 or 57, that the Republican Party was created in Jackson, Michigan. And ran their first candidate the serious candidate for president, Abe Lincoln, in the election of 1860. So that was 3 years later. And boom, Lincoln got elected, and we were in the Civil War within months, of the end of that. The South seceded. That's how rapidly that happened. You had the Great Depression. Things seemed to be going along just fine up until 1929, and all of a sudden, boom, the great crash happens in October of 29, and the United States is in a Great Depression, and Franklin Roosevelt comes along to save the day in the election of 1932 and begins the New Deal in March of 1933. And so there, again, about a 4-year period for this huge swing to happen. If you look at countries that flipped fascist, Italy in the 1920s, Germany in the early 1930s, Japan, actually, in the mid to late 1930s, in every case, it was a relatively short period of time. I mean, Hitler had been arrested in 1923 when he led a group of protesters to the seat of government of Bavaria, one of the southern states in Germany, where probably one of the most conservative states, if not the most conservative state in Germany, to this day. And he led a group of protesters to literally seize control of the state government, to overthrow their equivalent of their governor. He was arrested for that. He was thrown in jail. While in jail, he wrote Mein Kampf. It took him a decade after he came out to spread his idea of fascism, and that the Lügenpresse, the lying press, was behind his imprisonment and was lying about what he was all about, and the Jewish conspiracy and everything else. It took him a decade from the time he was first arrested in Bavaria until he became chancellor in 1933. It was 10 years. And that is being speeded up considerably now. I mean, that was in an era before television. There was radio, but there was no television. And there was certainly no internet or social media. So my point is that what's going on inside the Republican Party right now is the rise of fascism. Trumpism is at its core fascist. And we are seeing this, across the United States. And this movement, fascist movements are typically not connected to, reality, for lack of a better word. They don't depend on facts. They depend on grievance and a belief that there's an other out there that's trying to screw us, that's trying to ruin the country. I mean, that's the essence of the whole thing. And that in response to that, you have to have strongman government, you have to essentially suspend the rights of minorities, you have to have strong majority rule, and then, you add to that the call for an ethno-state, a racially pure governing body, essentially, which is what the Republican Party has largely become and is largely promoting. And you have fascism, and it is spreading in the United States really rapidly. And so how do we deal with this? Well, if we're not going to have, at the very least, we need to expose this. And if we're not going to have a commission, a January 6th commission looking into this stuff, then Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer need to get with the program and appoint committees in the House and the Senate that have subpoena power, where every Republican on the committee was one of the Republicans who voted to impeach Donald Trump or who voted for the January 6th commission. And there are enough in both the House and the Senate to make that happen.